We are 35 days away from the NFL Combine. We are 51 days away from NFL free agency. We are 94 days away from the NFL draft. Still a ways to go for training camp in week one, but those three are on the periphery. I mean, the Senior Bowl will be starting here very soon, right? That hits you before you know it, especially when, we haven't been accustomed to it the last few years, but going this deep in the playoffs, the Senior Bowl is like next week. So there's evaluation already taking place. There's movement going on around the NFL. And in that regard, the biggest news coming out of the NFC North today, let's start with what happened with Green Bay. They lose their defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, who now becomes the head coach, reportedly, to the Miami Dolphins. So is there a trickle-down effect of a potential that Al Harris, the Bears secondary coach, a former defensive back of Green Bay, and certainly has a really good reputation around the league, at least in some circles. Does he make the move over to back over to his team that he played for? In the Bears regard, Eric Bieniemy is now reportedly going to go back to becoming the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs as Matt Nagy looks to become the head coach elsewhere. On how that is transpiring, I'll never know. But regardless, there is a trickle-down effect that's taking place, and a really great running backs coach and a guy that held that room to a level of accountability is now reportedly going to be moving on. So, Shane, there's going to be a lot of poaching this year, and I think as Bears fans, we're all kind of holding on for dear life because while when you're a good team, this is part of the territory, it doesn't always happen that first year, right? And there's a potential that you could lose Al Harris. You could maybe even lose Declan Doyle if somebody really wants to get rogue. You could lose Antoine Randall potentially to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You never know. And now you're losing Eric Bieniemy. They had to beg Dan Rochar to come out of retirement. Are they going to be able to continue to keep him on? Let's hope so. But, this is the tough time of year for the Bears coaching staff because you want to keep as many guys as you have because they did such a fantastic job.
100%. And what you have to do, you have to just pump the brakes a little bit and realize how all of this works. And you have to realize if you back up to last year at this time, it was around the 20th or 25th when we signed Ben Johnson to be our, new head coach. Ben Johnson didn't get all of the guys that he initially wanted on his staff. That's just the way that the NFL cycle works. Guys get hired before Ben was the head coach or they don't become available. And now there's guys that are going to be available that Ben was very likely connected to last year. And I think you'll see some turnover. Not probably any of the big positions. I mean, if I'll be honest, this isn't going to be, people aren't going to be super stoked about this take. If Antoine Randall is the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm completely fine with it. I have a lot of question marks there just with fundamental issues with some of the wide receivers that have showed up consistently game after game after game after game that are a problem for me. And I know Phil can talk about it even better than I can, but there's going to be some consistency there. And he's going to, like I said, when we talk about this roster, how there's going to be change, there's going to be some change on it with the coaching staff. Also, I know, just like Buffalo, I don't think anybody expected Aaron Kromer to announce his retirement, and then the head coach goes. But it's the nature of the business in the NFL. Ben has his list. Ryan Poles has his list. They're ready to go, and you'll probably see them hire a new running backs coach, like you said, at the Senior Bowl. That's usually where all that happens.
Well, and that's the big thing, right? Is Phil that this year it feels like there are more vacancies than there normally is, and not just vacancies, some premier destinations. The New York Giants haven't been a good franchise here for a while, but they have a bright future. We talk about a bright future with the Bears. They have a bright future with Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo and Malik Neighbors and, some really talented players on that defensive side of the ball. Then you have, an open vacancy with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP. Sean McDermott gets fired from the Buffalo Bills. And now here's Josh Allen just sitting there, for somebody to walk into that organization and a quarterback that hasn't gotten over the mountain, that certainly I think should show Bears fans how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. But at the same time, a guy that consistently gets to the dance and gives himself a shot. So there's so many opportunities out there, never mind a team like the Raiders, who are going to have a top pick, potentially have a swing at the bat at a guy like Mendoza, who's going to be playing here tonight for Indiana in the national championship, to go along with Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. So there's a lot of really great options for coaches out there. But then the problem with that is they need to fill their coaching staffs. And who are you going to look to? A team like the Bears, who have been lauded for some really outstanding coaching done this season.
Yeah, you're going to get turnover. The head coach is the key. Yep. I always say that. And the offensive line coach is number 2. Those are the 2 most important. Then your defensive coordinator, he's staying here unless somehow he gets involved in head coaching interviews again. I don't see it either.
You don't become a 3-time head coach very often in the NFL.
Exactly. So,
especially as a defensive coach in this day and age.
Yeah.
But he did do a fantastic job. So you kind of have to worry about that a little bit. But to your point, that would not be the norm.
Yes, I would be shocked. Good for him. Then you move Al Harris up. I don't think Al would go back to the Packers in my feelers on that. I think there's natural, real hate towards that staff. And I think Al is a part of that too. I don't think he likes what LaFleur stands for and how he handles himself. The Packer fans went out of their way, the Karen fans, to paint Ben as a bad guy, when the authenticity of the room is the locker room, and you're sharing that, and the rivalry is back. And, oh, by the way, we won the NFC North, and we knocked you out of the playoffs in spectacular, legendary fashion. You're a little butthurt. That's all that is. The reality is, you've taken your shots and said your stuff. So I just don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, or you should be worried. But Al Harris could be going to the Ravens or something. I know that he's a well-respected. He was my favorite signing for Ben Johnson, because I know what a teacher he is. So that would be a tough loss, but you got the head coach.
Well, the one thing that I have heard with Al Harris is that it's from people in Dallas, that it's because they have an open vacancy for the defensive coordinator with Matt Eberflus being fired. And he, in a lot of Cowboys fans' opinion, they felt like he should have been the person to be elevated as the DC when they hired a new head coach last year, and Brian Schottenheimer, and that didn't happen. But from my understanding, I think Ed Werder, who's been as connected as anyone in Dallas for 40 years, put out there that there's a soured relationship with Al Harris in Dallas. So that would be an unlikely return in that regard. So the one thing I will say to your point, obviously, I think you're 100% right. And I think it does kind of go without saying, like, how important it is when the Bears have looked of who to hire as a head coach, to have your offensive play caller and your person that is in the position of growing the offense and the quarterback. That's your guy as your head coach. You look at what happened on the other side. Sean McVay has the most playoff wins of a head coach under 40 years old. Like, you have to have a great young offensive mind in this day and age. You look at the Kyle Shanahans of the world. You look at the Kevin O'Connells. You look at Sean McVay now here with Ben Johnson. To have that guy as your head coach guarantees you a level of stability that other teams don't have. When you look at the Commanders, they're getting rid of Cliff Kingsbury. It sounded like Jane Daniels didn't want that to happen. Now they're starting over with a whole new offense. We've been down this road with Jay Cutler. As talented as he was, he had a different offensive coordinator every year, and that continuity never came to pass and was part of the reason why those teams weren't successful. And I wish, had I known we were really going to dive deep into the weeds on this discussion, I would have pulled up our interview with Cole Kmet a few weeks ago when he revealed that he had never had a head coach that and Phil, you might have to help me out with this because it was a couple weeks ago and how he framed it, but Cole said that Ben Johnson scripts the runs during the week. Like he's your run game coordinator during the week. And like other coaching staffs, we've had even last year with Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron, they like assign all these roles for different people where it was like, no, Cole was like, no, Ben is the one dictating how we're going to run.
Cole said he'd never had that anywhere. Yeah.
Right.
Before.
So, so losing to that point, losing Eric Bieniemy, certainly a tough blow, and a guy that, had a strong voice in that locker room and on that practice field. I witnessed that firsthand. But in terms of the game script, and that was what Cole said, and how they were going to script the run game, Ben Johnson was the one deciding that every week. And as you said, Shane, while that's good for stability, Ben is going to be looking in the mirror on how he was scripting that run game here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, you heard Chris Collinsworth last night talk about it. How many times did he say the Bears just continue to keep on running the ball to the right side? It's at one point, what was it, 11 out of 14 times or 14 out of 16? I forget exactly what the numbers were, but listen, my faith in Ben Johnson, the head coach, is I'm not down on him. I don't think he was perfect, but to Phil's point, what James Jones said, this is the worst iteration of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams that you're ever going to see, minus injuries or something like that. It's just, I think that the Bears are in a very, very good spot, and it's going to be very interesting, man, because I think Bears fans, again, like I said, I think they're going to be in for a surprise because I think that there's going to be some extensions that players or that the fans aren't expecting and don't really like to rework money. There's going to be restructures because as you're standing right now, and I know I'm going off on a tangent here a little bit, but I think it's critical as we move into the offseason. If you're looking at Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore, and Montez Sweat, if you're saying that you're not moving off of those guys, which is a whole different, ball of wax, but if you're restructuring to free up money, just with those three guys like that, at the snap of a finger, you create $50 million in cap space just with those three.
Right.
And it's very easy, workable deals for them to do.
Yeah, and that's going to be the question, and that's kind of where I wanted to take this with you guys as we're getting close to reaching the top of the hour, so we'll have to take a quick second to hit that overtime here in a couple minutes, but that is what we're looking at, right? It is, these decisions that they have to make, and I had the list in front of me of different players, and they have some big decisions here coming up, and I certainly have my thoughts on it, but I wanted to hear your guys' as well of all these different players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You've got Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, two safeties. Both your starting safeties are free agents this year.
All of your safeties are.
All of your safeties.
Even
correct.
Your backups, yes.
Even your backups, that's right. Yeah. And, Jonathan Owen. So, how they make these decisions, as you guys said, Jaquan Brisker had an unbelievable, 2-game playoff stretch here, trying to, I guess, finish strong and certainly playing for some money, right? That's a big part of that too. And then you have other guys that came in out of nowhere this year, and Nashawn Wright, who's maybe set to have a pretty decent payday, at least based off of the career that he's had so far, in the NFL. And then you had CJ Gardner-Johnson, who really breathed life into this team after they lost to the Ravens, and they went on a little bit of a run with him and Kyler Gordon out. You saw both of them on the field in run blitzes pass, blitzing last night and get to the quarterback. DeMarco Jackson, somebody, Phil, that you were banging the table.
Must resign.
Right. Then you got to make the decision at left tackle. Everybody understands the task at hand for the defensive line. Are you going to give Darnell Wright a big time contract for everything he's done as a right tackle? So there's a lot of different things, for this team to look at. And I know, Shane, you're always thinking 5 steps ahead in this regard. So you mentioned a few to clear cap space. But Phil, where do you kind of stand on some of this stuff? Because there's a lot of decisions to be made.
Well, my head is in a vortex of what just happened. So I asked the question to you both here and the chat. Can this team move forward with DJ Moore? That's
Shane, I don't really see how you get rid. Who's banging the door down for a guy that I think is due like $30 million next year?
Yeah, but it's so let me bring it up here just real quick.
He did not speak today to the media again. He bounced out last night.
If you trade DJ Moore before June 1st, you have a dead cap number of 12 million, which is digestible. You save 16.5 on the cap. If you do a post June 1st trade, you have a dead cap number of 4 million, but it also pushes another 8 million of dead cap into 2027. But that gives you a cap savings of 24.5 million in 2026. So the way that you have to look at that is, so DJ's at 28.5 million in terms of a cap hit. As bad as that sounds, it's not ridiculous, but you have to look around at teams. You look at a team like Tennessee, you look at a team like the New York Giants, you look at a team with the Raiders, right? That listen, you have to do the DJ Moore move that the Bears did in 2023 to bring in an established vet that isn't 34 years old. You know what I mean? To bring some validity to the room. Now, can it happen? 100%. I was very, very upset with DJ Moore and Greg, before Phil got here, you and Adam and I were talking offline a little bit. This isn't just a last night thing with DJ Moore. This has showed up quite often with him. Some routes just giving up on. Some routes you're going 35, 40%, maybe 60%. The NFL, that doesn't work. That is not sustainable.
Yeah.
The thing about it is where we're in different territory with the Bears is you have Luther Burden, you have Aroma Dunze, you have to put Colston Loveland into that. Cole Kmet, people can say whatever they want. Cole Kmet is going to get a contract extension here in Chicago. He's going to. They're going to. I wholeheartedly believe.
And help explain, because I've been trying to make this point. I've been a little ahead of this the last couple months as fans have been trying to.
They're going to extend him out and bring his number down to the role that he's in. He's not going to be the feature piece. I mean, when you got to give Cole a lot of credit. He's a hometown kid, grew up a Chicago Bears fan, got drafted by his hometown team, and he's out there.
Did you hear his interview with Jason McKee after the game?
I did not hear that, but I was referring to when he was on with Hogan Johns, when he called Colston Loveland the best catcher of the football at tight end in the league. Now, unfortunately, the game that Colston followed up after that, it didn't. But there's going to be a lot of moves, like I was saying. I've been a DeAndre Swift supporter. Would I be completely shocked if Ben Johnson earmarked a guy that he likes or loves that he's pounding the table for if the Bears moved off of DeAndre Swift? I wouldn't be shocked at all. And I mean, I can give you those numbers if you want them. Let me bring.
Does he have 1 year left on his deal, Swift?
Yeah, so DeAndre Swift, and I don't even believe he's 27 years old yet. But so a DeAndre Swift deal, a If you trade him, his dead cap number 2026 is 1.333 million. 2026 cap savings of 7.5. Just an outright release. You have 1.8 in dead cap in 2026 and a cap savings of 7 million. So both are on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
really. And to Phil's point, I think as much as I love Kenneth Walker, you see Charbonnet went down with a catastrophic knee injury, and when you have $72 million in available cap space, and you very well could be the representative for the NFC in the Super Bowl. Are they going to walk away from a guy like that? And we don't know who Ben Johnson has in mind. Like I said, would I be shocked if DeAndre Swift is here? No, I wouldn't be. Would I be shocked if they move off of him? That's one of those guys that I think it's 100% on the table with them. And I mean, Tremaine Edmonds, it's $15 million.
He's gone.
It's gone. Gotta be
terrible. If we're playing the game, Greg, DeMarco Jackson is a must resign. Kevin Byard must.
DeMarco Jackson is a. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. Fantastic player. I still believe that there's upside there for him as a starter.
Totally fits Dennis Allen.
It's a non-factor financially. He's not going to move the needle one bit financially for you.
He's a fabric player beyond, though. I feel like his ceiling is way higher. The way he plays that game, man, he has instincts and speed, and he's tough. I really like that football.
And the hard part is, like, how does TJ Edwards return from a pretty tough ankle injury, right? And so
that was a tough one because Ryan Poles extended him
right, and so he's not going anywhere. But then the real question is, what is his availability going into the season? I don't know. I'm genuinely asking. I don't know how long that recovery table is for that ankle injury. How much can he get back to form? So you've got two decisions there with linebacker, just like you got two decisions at safety.
You got three decisions because you got to cut Tremaine Edmonds.
Somebody's talking about extending Tremaine Edmonds. I just don't you could save money technically by doing that, but what is the upside there for your team? I mean, at this point,
he's hustling in this game, Greg, if Tremaine Edmonds is playing this game with his hair on fire and had football acumen, that tip ball, and he's running over, he intercepts that. He intercepted. Mike Brown is over there intercepting it half his speed. The next guy, DeMarco Jackson, comes and plays that tight end so well, tips the ball, tips it again,
dive,
and it goes. All you got to do is dive, run it, and dive. If he's sprinting, he probably just catches it. He had a moment where moving to Will linebacker was like, okay, he can't read. All right, guard blocks down and they're comboing. I got to hit B gap quick. He's standing there and his drops, don't get me going. It's too much for people to understand.
And what's great is, and stay tuned for updates on how we're going to do programming here through the offseason, but we're still going to be doing After Darks. We're still going to be doing CHGO Bears and Brick by Brick, but there are some things we have to work out internally to figure out how that programming will come to you through the offseason, leading up to the draft, after the draft, etc. But that being said, what I'm trying to say is we will have plenty of shows here coming up where we're going to really dial into some of these conversations. But I do think it's healthy to kind of get the early prognostications on some of this stuff. And so when you talk about all the decisions in the secondary, from the safeties to your corners, and I know you guys have been proponents of, like, hey, maybe they need to look into moving on from Jalen Johnson. I know there's a lot of fans out there that would not like that. And I love you too, Paul. I was just giving you a hard time. You know me. Anybody that watches these shows knows I go at the chat. But
that's our guy Apple fan from back in the day, Phil.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. But regardless.
Straight from Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, you
librarian. You have Kevin Byard, you have Jaquan Brisker, you have CJ Gardner-Johnson, you've got you've got Nashawn Wright. And so, like, to me, I think it starts with Kevin Byard, and it sounds like 100%. He wants to return.
He is a leader. He is a stabilizer. He's got great football acumen. You look at that play where it was 4th and 1 and Puka Nacua gets that jet sweep.
Yeah.
He's there to fill. The other clowns aren't even understanding football. Like I think it's Edmonds again. He gets sucked in and somebody else misses the tackle in the backfield. And there's Byard filling and wrapping, for Byard's warts, which are some. I mean, he should have made a great diving interception. I thought he could have caught that ball, but he is just too valuable as an emotional locker room, just
I agree.
Presence. That kind of stability is necessary.
I agree with
Brisker having these great games, to what you said, Greg, credit to you. I don't want guys that are motivated by money alone. I want guys that are motivated by the game. I loved Brisker coming out. He's someone I would move on from. I'm not going to pay him heavy money for I don't love the game.
Well, and I give him a lot of credit. I mean, the biggest question this year was, could he play a whole season? And he did that. He didn't just play 17 games. He played 19 games. And so that was a big thing for him, for just his personal career, to prove to the Bears or prove to teams that he could be reliable in that regard. And we learned this year, you can be as talented as you want. Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, whoever, you can't stay on the football field. It doesn't do any good. So Jaquan was out there whether he has flaws in his game or not, he was out there every single game day. I would say the next person on my list of when you go through all these different decisions, to me, CJ Gardner-Johnson has to be brought back to this. He brings so much to the table, and he's honestly somebody that can play safety too.
And I think you can bring him back on a 1-year deal.
I like him at safety.
He's a guy that sat out there for a long time, and listen, he's got warts to his game. He's got, there was some other issues why teams moved on from him, but he seemed to fit Chicago. He seemed to fit this culture.
And he's got the Dennis Allen familiarity.
I like him 100%. Where you said, Greg, his move to safety with a healthy Gordon and Byard is an upgrade to Brisker.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Byard at all. He's coming back. And somebody asked in the chat.
What I loved hearing from him today too, and this is the tone that I want from this team, was like, yeah, I want to return because I want to finish the job. And that's going to be the big thing. Is, again, we're going to talk about all these moves here throughout the offseason and what the Bears should do, this, that, and the other. But ultimately, I think the biggest thing for this team's success in the immediate for next year, because I think over the next 10 years, they're going to be good more times than not, just based off of the coaching staff they have and the quarterback they have. But how do they take this year and get to the top? Very reminiscent of Russell Wilson in his rookie year, where they get to the divisional playoffs, get on the doorstep of going to an NFC championship, lose to the Falcons 30-28, and then the next year they finish the job and get all the way to the Super Bowl and win the whole damn thing. How do you duplicate that kind of script? Well, they've got to have a reset of a mentality, but also a not being satisfied, not sitting here this summer and resting on your laurels. And to hear Kevin Byard come out today and say immediately, they're like, I want to come back because I want to finish the job. It's good. And Cole Kmet said it as soon as the game was over as well. Like, hey, next year's going to be a whole new thing, and it's not promised to us, and we're going to have to work twice as hard if we want to get it. And so a lot of fans will point to teams that didn't have that year the next year where they built off of it and then fell off the map. But as Adam Rank pointed out, who's such a great, I think knowledge of historian of teams and their journey, he brought up some different teams that I think are easy to point to, including the Detroit Lions, who went on that 4-year run with Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator. So I feel good about the Bears' chances going forward, even with a tough NFC North division.